So, you can hate me if you want to, but I picked up a 400i credit edition. I told you before about I put my privateer in buyback, and plain and simple, I'm looking for the elevator entrance right now. I don't know if I'm just gonna go right to the staircase and act like I know what I'm doing. But plain and simple, I had the credit. I applied it to a Nova tank I had in my hangar, and this is quite an upgrade from a Nova tank. Don't get me wrong, I like the Nova, but that's a buy-in game. So the other door, I think, right here is the X1 storage. And I want to thank eagle-eyed viewers who have pointed out it was an X1 and it was not a Nox that was being elevated into this hangar here. Like this mini, I wouldn't call it a hangar, maybe like a jump hangar thing or something. And words of John Crew, he said that this area was basically empty. So him and Art worked together to concept out an area there that was pushing this device forward. Sorry, back the gravity engine. So you can actually see past there where it used to sit, and that is now the storage for the X1 series of hover bikes. I, I I'm kind of baffled by the whole design of uh, not having the the X1 as part of the deal. I think maybe they were worried about the price point. That's just speculation on my part. Here's a nice airlock right here. But if even if they were worried about the price point, they could have just had it as another offer, so you could pick it up on its own, and then combine the two. Because not a lot of people have the X1. It's one of multiple space bikes. I mean, and they just had the Dragonfly referral sale. I think that it would have made more sense to do a Dragonfly referral. Sorry, instead of the Dragonfly referral, have the X1 as this sale. You wouldn't even need to tell people why if you didn't want to sell it for some reason. So anyway, you can see there is a nice assortment of weapons racks there. I'm guessing these are suit storage. I actually don't know why I said guessing. I know they're suit storage. But and there's going to be three of these suit storage, and then the weapon rack on the far end. I wish that these had bigger labels. I know Origin enjoys the aesthetic that's really small, but very low key and very relaxed. But this writing is a little tough to see, and it's not back illuminated. So in an emergency, when things are blaring and sirens and red lights, being able to run over to grab your suit and weapon would be a little bit of a difficulty. But that is to say, that is to say, once you are accustomed to this ship, though, that really won't be a problem. But I just thought I'd mention it. So we're using that small elevator to get to the beautiful visibility cockpit, which reminds me a lot of a 300 series, which I think you've heard me on the channel say a lot of times. I've loved the 300 series. So a bigger 300 is a nice touch. Nice flight ready button. The buttons are not individually featured yet, which surprises me because this is a brand new ship. But hey, it's in game. So I'm on 315 PTU 1. Uh, if you are wondering how come I can't get on PTU 1, understand that there is going to be a PTU 2 in the near future. Every single patch works that way, where they release a certain amount of folks to be able to get into PTU. Sorry, just double checking something. And then they are opening it to a wider audience in PTU Wave 2. By the time it gets to PTU Wave 2, every single subscriber, every single concierge person basically is in by that point. And people that have been active in the issue council at all tend to be a-okay in the game if they want to be. And then there's usually a PTU Wave 3, and that by that point it tends to be every single backer, which is I like to see that. I like to see that people that want to take part in testing and experience the new patch early and be part of the community at a deeper level can, regardless of how long they've been here. So that's kind of where I'm at. If you notice the front, there is a little area there. Sorry, I can't hold down F and look at the free view, but towards the front, there's that frontal fin has basically like a closure that covers it when it's in flight, when the landing gear comes up. So if I drop the landing gear again, you'll see those rear ones come down, and then see that front one there comes down as well. So the handles to open the stairwell and the X1 mini hangar are basically inside that strut. They're protected by the strut, and I like that a lot. So if somebody was to say attempt to do some type of glitch clever work or something, they still wouldn't be able to even get at the controls if you are not in a landing gear configuration. So you could hit the landing gear and bam. So that's one little neat thing about this ship so far I found. I already mentioned that the weapons and the suit lockers are up to date. That's a modern design. This is what we need right now. Let's get this thing up into space. And one of the cool things, I'm going to tell you one of my secrets. Some people who've been playing for a while are going to roll their eyes, but not everybody knows this. If you press the C button, I'm looking at my altitude and I'm confirming that we're going up and up and up on a reasonable trajectory. I press that C button and the little triangle with a line above it goes. That means we're in cruise control now. That means it'll continue on this speed, whatever trajectory I set, which I am all about. Now, if I look at my angle, I'm not quite happy with that. I want to kind of go fully vertical now that we're high enough that that really shouldn't be an issue. I mean, if you're coming out of like a large spaceport like August Dunlow over in Horizon, like I am, and you go straight vertical immediately, you might even tap into somebody else cruise controlling or an NPC or something. But now that I kind of wandered off in a random direction for a little bit while I was gaining altitude, I can confidently kind of hold it at that higher angle and be happy. So I am going to hop out of the seat and let's see if we can walk around the ship while it's in action, which we should be able to do. On larger ships, this is a godsend because part of the work of the crew is literally getting things done while you're multitasking. We are literally exiting Atmo while we are moving back and forth here. Looks like that's door sensor locks and such, like we've seen on the MSR, lighting and door settings and such. And this is our elevator to that floor below. Let's take a look at the bathroom. Shocking amount of switches. I'm hearing some kind of bumping effect, so I'm going to stay out of that room for a minute. So this is definitely a nice crew quarters here. Here is your secondary crew quarters. So you could argue that this would be the crewmates area, and that this is the captain's quarters. Instead of a second bunk, and it's a little bit bigger, it looks like you have a desk area to work in, and you also have an additional storage area here. Or is this a bathroom? That is a storage area. Nice little closet. This vid screen. I think the crew should have vid screens as well. Yep, very Origin style. One of the things that's nice about this is even the crew areas have their own closets, and they're very well appointed. I think that the circular style here is really nice. Let me see what's going on with this. We seem to be getting into bumpy land here. Notice I kicked it off of cruise control. We're at 103,000 feet. We're getting awfully close to the edge of space. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of let it sit up here. It's kind of like a new car. It has a little bit of teething going on, but it's perfectly fine. Notice we're static here at 104,000 feet. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep on looking through the ship. So I'm still hearing a bumping noise. I'm not quite sure what that's from. It's definitely not my ship work. It's not like I'm traveling 90 degrees straight up. Hopefully it will not cause any damage to the ship, whatever that noise is. But this little booth area is really nice. I think they did a nice job. I even like the little screen. You can see where the ship status is or where you are on the map. A lot like, you know, business class or a coach class of a plane. I like this little amenities. This reminds me a lot of the Phoenix as well as the 600i. It has that nice touch of luxury. I love the gold with the marble. We've seen that on the 890. We've seen it on the 600i. On the Phoenix ship as well, the RSI Phoenix Connie, what we've seen is the same deal where you have a well-stocked bar, and it tends to have, there's your waters here. Yes, I know what they look like even through the frost. You have different kinds of foods and such, like the 600i would have. So there's your condiments right there. So I think a nice little food prep area. It's nice. It's a nice touch. And then you have a nice dining area. This hollow chart area, I believe, was originally envisioned in one of the earliest concepts they showed to be a jacuzzi area or a pool or something like that. I'm glad it's not, honestly. This is a much better appointed area. A nice hollow table is a nice touch. It has the same touch as the 600i, having a defensive turret, or even the 890. The 890 has a forward turret that you can view, kind of see the spectacle of it at action from the windows, as the 600i has it in the rear like this does, where you can see the turret in action from a main area of the ship. And this is quite the center of attention here. This area here, once again, I apologize for the noise. I don't know why it's making that. Sounds like something shaking around. I hope it's not damaging the ship, but that should be gone. It's just, after all testing, it bears in mind that 3.15 PTU Wave 1, it has its consequences, and one of the things is going to be noise, testing, other issues, and such. So one of the things I find interesting is these component areas hidden on the wall here that you can't open. There might be a switch nearby that allows you to get in these, but they're definitely component areas. I can't access those right now. I can access the cabinets. I can use the beds. So that means 3 players can utilize this ship and log out in it, and they also have a personal storage area with the closets. So that's literally this is the best seat in the house right here. This little cabin with the desk. Wonder if you can sit yet. Once again, this is experimental, but maybe. I see that circle means that I can sit, but I'm still a little nervous. Enter seat. Let's try it. This might be my famous last words. And just exit. Okay. So that area right there is your desk area as the captain of the ship. I think also you would have to accept the fact that you may need crew that want to make use of it if there is additional comms and equipment that you can review inside a desk area. Just understand that you're going to be sharing that area with the rest of your crew. Your other 2 crew members do not have a desk area. So one little mention there. The restrooms are fine for this style ship. Absolutely fine. I think it's a little weird. There's a closet inside the restroom, but I guess that makes sense. If you think about it nowadays, you have the if you think about it now, you have it's really neat. You have these. That looks like a trash can and a plunger on its own little door with its own switch. Huh. There, this is clearly supposed to be a shower, but the ship is clearly too advanced for me because I don't know how to operate it. Because that is. Sorry, I'm having fun with this. Maybe there's a different configuration button. Wait a minute. There's different configurations in here. There's like an entire like profile set, like on a high-end car or something, where like you click it in and it knows which driver it is, but memory slots like one or two, and then maybe even a third. I'm pretty sure that's what we're dealing with here, and I think I just turned the lights off in here. Yeah, that's the lighting. Wow, this is there's a lot going on in this. I'm gonna leave it alone before I don't know. I feel like this is gonna become an escape pod. um, please open the door, Hal. I can't do that, Dave. Yeah. Anyway, it looks like the elevator is the primary way to get in and out of this area to the location below, which is the full length of the ship. This higher deck may be the nicer part of the ship, but it is not the full length of the ship. It's like a higher uh, tiered system, and it makes sense. The visibility I complimented here on the cockpit that has 3 seats. And by the way, I think one of these is definitely going to be a co-pilot seat. And nope, they just say enter seat. But one of them should be a co-pilot seat, and one of them should probably be a gunner seat. But let's see what they are. Not going to make it easy on me. Okay, seat, enter remote turret. Okay. So this looks like the upper turret right here that you saw in the rear of the ship. No, no, sorry. This is the bottom of the ship. I apologize for that confusion. And we are going to discharge this direction. If it lets me. Oh, we're in an armistice, of course. But dual Panthers, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Especially for a remote seat. Something to remember about remote turrets is you're not out of the action. If, say, you're on the remote turrets and there's a major fire that breaks out, or the defense of the ship has to happen, like in person, person to person type combat, well, and this is the station for that rear turret. You can see that it has like a dead zone here to protect the rear of the ship, so this person could not accidentally fire into the window or into the structure of the ship as much. And you can see the dead zones are pretty well designed. See that wing right there? That unfortunately is going to be a problem for a lot of players because enemy ships like PvPers will probably tuck in next to this ship in front of the fin on the side of this ship because you have a dead zone on both sides of that area. So you're going to need to keep spinning and keep your mobility up as long as possible during a fight. Once again, dual Panthers again. I like to lift them off, but we are just inside Armistice. And yeah, this is pretty cool. Now, with a lot of these areas, they are accessible via this elevator. But what we've been told in the past, and one of the things I still subscribe my beliefs to, is there should be a backup ladder system. This is probably lighting. Yes, yes, oh yes. I don't know what the third button does. So that's like your task lighting for this area. And then this would be if you're underway and you're tired of seeing lights, but you still want to be able to see what you're doing. This third button, okay, it turns the running lights off the floor, which I think is a little too dark, but that's personal opinion. I like the second one where you still have the running lights. And they do a nice silhouette of the walls. You can actually see where your seats are so you don't trip into them. Don't bang your leg into them. And you're still able to get around if something goes wrong without having to go find the light switch first. But yeah, it seems to be just the elevator, which kind of surprises me, unless there's some type of secret switch. It wouldn't surprise me with the way Origin likes to hide things, that there is a way. Oh, here we go. Here, I apologize. This is the ladder system. I don't know where this came from, but this is a ladder. Okay. There is a ladder on the well of the elevator shaft. It's not in the normal place like you'd expect on, say, the MSR or on the Starfarers. Sorry, the Hammerhead, for example. The ladder is like off to the side. It's almost like its own little cubby there, but it's there and it does connect both floors. So if the power was out on this ship and the elevator could not be utilized, and to be honest, if the power is active, I would use the heck out of this. This is a fast elevator. It's a lot less trying to finagle this and make contact and get up that elevator and get good. But it's still, that might not be an option if the power's off. Goes without saying. This whole centerpiece is your cargo elevator. I will not be dropping this because, well, plain and simple. If I drop this elevator in midair, it might be even louder in here, and that's the last thing we want. So let's take a look at the component areas. Here's a power plant we have here. And remember, in the future, you'll have to be able to get at these cargo areas, the module areas, because you'll be able to replace those or at least very least work on them during flight. Here's an escape pod. I don't know if they're operable yet. I'm pretty sure they're not. I don't really want to test it because I'll go flying off and will not be recoverable. But yeah, that is interesting. The noise seems to get worse when these doors open and close right next to the escape pods. It could be that the escape pods are the ones banging against the ship. I'm not quite sure yet. You know, Starbuck tends to make power plants and quantum drives. Here's our jump drive right here for quantum work. Nice little quantum drive hanging out in there. And it's interesting, is there 4 escape pods? Yes, there are 4 escape pods. So the idea is if somehow you have an extra guest or a person that's traveling along with your 3-person crew, there is an additional escape pod. And that brings up an interesting thought. Was this ship originally envisioned to have 3 2-4 personal crew on board? I'm very curious if the vision was to have 3 people as an away team and then one person, Michael Collins and Apollo mission style, stay inside the ship and keep an eye on things while the other crew go out and get their job done. Um, I'll reserve judgment on that. I'm not quite sure, but there's only 3 beds, so that means that long term, that's really what it's meant for. And they already said the life support only has room for 3 people plus a small amount of uh, safety room. So basically, a short term, you could have. I'm inferring from that you can have additional people on board, but once it's going to get crowded real fast when it comes to the air and the CO scrubbers and such. So inside here we have more modules. There was a lot of discussion. You see the radar and the shield generator. A lot of discussion about these rooms being climate controlled, and you can see the fog that's coming out of the ground to animate that. And I'm not quite sure what the importance of that is. That means they're very cool. I know that. I like the blue color. It reminds me a lot of a fridge or other high-end appliances that use chilling areas, and they look really stylish. I'll give it that. It's the most Origin engineering area I've ever seen, and I would imagine that it would be very comfortable to work in here in real life. But I don't know how much effect that's going to have. It would be neat if there was a small, like, hidden bonus of, hey, your modules have a slightly less chance of overheating because they're inside a beautiful climate-controlled room, and only the modules that are in this rooms or in these 2 rooms would be better for that. Avionics would be a good example. Any type of computer hardware, ironically, the coolers. and the life support are in that room. Now, I do wonder how the heck the coolers are designed to cool all the other modules and allow for overheating and such. So I'm quite confused as to how the room cooling is cooling it's the very coolers that are cooling it. And what I mean by that is, if you air condition a room, the air conditioner has to work harder the more space it has because it's always going to stay on to keep that area chilled. So it's those coolers in theory are working harder to keep that room cool to cool themselves. Somewhere there must be a heat exchanger working harder and being even hotter and run even the pump running even stronger to keep that room cool. So, anyway, it's kind of like dividing by zero. But I digress. So we're back to where we started from. We're back to the gravity generator. It's very cool, very neat looking in here. You can see that there is that nice little X1 mini hangar in there. We're back to the weapons racks, the suits, and then, of course, the stairwell. I do see this stairwell as a bit of a hazard because if you open this mid flight, you could fall to your death or fall into space, which wouldn't be as bad because then people just laugh at you and then pick you up. You should be in a suit if you're in this part of the ship and getting ready to exit the ship at some point, or, well, no, not always. Sorry, I take that back. But if you are, it's not that big of a deal. So I do see this area as a very unique necessity. I do like the look, the hexagonal industrial, but like very stylish look of this place. I like the circular angles, kind of these angular designs here, but they're very, very stylish, and but it's still industrial. I think this is the nicest engineering area I've seen on a ship so far in any ship, let alone an Origin ship, and I'm very pleased with it. I think the most important areas are kind of divided a little bit down here. This area can fit a Cyclone, as was stated by the Citizencon panel on Ship Talk, or cargo. So you kind of have to either or this situation. If you have a Cyclone back here, and then you have your suits and your weapons stored up forward, you would have an interesting situation where the crew that are trying to come down this small elevator up to, well, basically two people. This looks like it's the size of a Hammerhead's elevator system or the old Retaliator elevator, where you can only fit comfortably two people. Three people would be like clipping into it. So in an emergency, honestly, let's be honest, you probably have the third person just jumping down behind the elevator, or all three. You could even leave the elevator down. You're not going to die if you jump down that elevator shaft. It's too short of a distance. Let's see if you get injured, though. Wouldn't hurt to find out, right? So, you know, we need to get off the ship for whatever reason. Sorry, I got my scroll wheel down so I get cleaner audio. There you go. You're down. And then if you want to go back up, the elevator's already in position, so you can shoot back up to the habitation deck. So I think probably most crews that are very active, if they are, they're going to be just jumping down this elevator shaft and then just using the elevator to get back up. Because the elevator is quick. And then you can't just go straight to your Cyclone. You will have to go to the right. So you'll shoot down there. You'll come over here. Run up to your respective suit. Now, we don't know exactly how this works yet, but hopefully you'll just be able to hit equip. Hold down F for the personal inner thought system and hit equip. And it'll literally connect to your gear. You come over here. You grab your weapons. So these will be your main arms and hopefully tools down the line. And these are your side arms and hopefully multi-tools and other smaller tools. 1, 2, 3. Each one of these slots represents a weapon or a tool, ideally. So you'll be able to grab whatever respective gear you have. So one example of this is, if this is your suit, you may come run in here, grab your suit, and grab your medical gun, your real gun, and your sidearm and your multi-tool, click, 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 and you're back out the door. And then you got to stand here, wait for this door to open. You got to stand here, wait for this door to open. And now you're jumping into that Cyclone. Probably a Cyclone MT, like a 3-seater or something like that would be ideal for a 3-seater ship, by the way. A ship and it also, that has a gun and a missile launcher on top that can fend for itself decently. That would be a perfect suiting for this, if that turret can fit in the headspace. I should test that. But for now, that's what I would picture, is like a Cyclone MT, or maybe even a Cyclone RN if you're more of a scouting nature with a 2-seater. And you jump in, you wait for the other crew. Now, if all three of you are inside that cyclone, who is going to send the elevator down? Because the elevator is over here, and if I hit this elevator is going to open into the air. And obviously, we're picturing a situation where you come down to a moon, you want to hop off as quickly as possible, you want to jump in. This might be big enough for an ROC, not a DS, but an ROC. It looks big enough. Once again, I'll have to test that, make that a fun little adventure. But honestly, I see this as two people exploring while one person stays on the ship. Maybe it would have benefited from having one more bunk on board, because then you could have a full three-person crew exiting the ship, and then one person stays on board the ship to protect it and keep an eye above. That's just my thoughts. I'm not quite sure. Now let's take a look at how this handles up in space. So the next time we talk, I'll be in space, and I'm going to pick up a contract or two and see if we can shoot some stuff and see how the pilot weapons work. Made it out. Just wanted to mention I made it out of the Orison pocket, and I want you to take a look at that level of hydrogen fuel usage. This thing sips gas. I mean, it's a big ship, and it used almost no hydrogen. It is not going to win any speed races anytime soon. So if you're picturing that, I wish you luck. But man, this ship is very reasonable on the speed, very very reasonable. Now Port Olisar is only 769 kilometers away. This is its new position above Crusader, if I'm not mistaken. The planet of Crusader. Well, hello to you too. But but let's. I had a thought. I'd like to land here, make it a little easier to do some more film work in case there's a problem that comes up during the contract work. And I'm also going to switch skins. So this is the paint that comes with it. Like, sorry, this is the skin that it's standard skin. This is with no paint whatsoever. This is the ship's stock. And honestly, I think it's not a bad looking skin at all. It is very stylish. It's very Origin. I mean, Origin of Origin. And it's very reasonable for what it does. It really highlights, and it's one of those high contrast looks. I'm going to switch to the Penumbra skin, which is the concierge skin that you can pick up separately from the ship. So if you do not want to get the war bond and you are concierge, you do not need to. You can pick it up separately. I think it's $11 USD. But I just wanted to mention that before I did that. Sometimes I forget with the magic of editing, and when I choose and when not to record, I think I'd be kicking myself because I'd have to just say all these things. And I'd rather show you as well to really give you, make it worth, the video worth watching, and give you as much information as possible. And once again, make your own decisions. That's kind of what I always say, so I'm trying to embrace it as much as possible. Oh, for goodness sake.
Landing gear raised.
Raised? What the heck? Bad ship. Very bad ship. Okay. By the way, nice little shock absorber feature on the front landing gear. I know they show them a lot, and we kind of get tired of seeing the little engineering pieces of these ships. If you're not really, that's not your day job or something you're really into as a hobby. But I got to give them credit. I also need to get a helmet on. So I'm going to get this new skid on and get this rolling. I've been switching between different characters to try to see what the models look like. And one of my many video ideas that kind of never pans out. But rest assured, in the future, I want to do a video about the new knick-knack system and show that it works across all kinds of characters. And I've done some crazy hairstyles and some other crazy things. Ash, if you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. Some of the wonderful hairstyles that broke through the helmets, especially on the male models versus the female models. But for now, I'm still in testing mode. And yeah, so let's get a helmet on. Let's get out there and probably the next little recording will show the new skin, the Penumbra skin. And there's like 3 other ones too, but that's the one that is for this video. And I don't have it. For the way, I'm not holding out on you. I don't have the other ones. Sorry, I do not have the other skins. I literally have the Penumbra, the concierge skin, which is like gray gold, and yeah. So this is the 400i from the outside with the Penumbra skin on it. And there is a skin that's very close to this. It's a little darker. It's like a jet black instead of this grayish color without the gold trim, or at least it's a lot less gold. Might even have like a bit of a copper hint, like the ghoulish green, which I'm a big fan of. I really appreciate the ghoulish green on the Drake series of ships, and I hope to see it on more ships. So when I saw the Penumbra skin, which hinted at that, but just a bit more gold than the ghoulish green, I jumped at it. It's the same kind of really nice textures. There's not much to it. There is a bit more right around the cockpit area that you can see from the cockpit, which was smart. A nice little bit of engine trim there. But I think it's a nice little subdued skin. Nice little touches like that for places that you'd see. Like, for example, if you were on a docking collar, the docking collar would kind of wrap around this, and you should be able to see the door with the gold hint to it. Nice little subdued hints of the gold. They did a pretty nice job on that. And then one of the unfortunate side effects of these skins, paints, if you will, is the internals don't change, which is a shame. Promised you the elevator. Let's double check that. So this is the elevator in service. You can see it reaches all the way to the ground. You can basically roll a vehicle up from the front or the back. Notice the ramps. This is a good lesson CIG has learned from the past, where they describe the carts and vehicles trying to transit, like the PTV, Grey Cat PTV, for example, with anything with smaller wheels, trying to get onto these pads when it's not perfectly even, like, for example, on unimproved ground or on pads that are at outposts. That will become a problem. Whereas if you have it style with those smaller ramps attached, you would not have that issue. So I'm already the ship is already starting to grow on me in different ways. I really like when I think of this ship, I think of that lighting. I think of this area back here. If I'm not the one flying, or if it's in quantum, this is where I'm going to spend most of my time hanging out, checking out the star charts while I'll be watching a show on there, prepping food and other things like that. I just feel like that's the heart of the ship, really, to me. And once you have to come up here and do business, this area is pretty dang cool. You can see that little hint of gold around the edges for the paint. This is an example of the paint, even though it's just an outside of the ship. It does interact with the ship. See that gray and gold you can see from where you're sitting, from the pilot seat, from anywhere in the cockpit. There we go. Yeah, you can really see that gold come into its own on top of the ship. Ironically, in places you can't see when you're walking up. Let's see underneath. Less of it. It's not very stealthy, I mean, but it is very, very stylish. And let's see, is the Origin logo still clearly big? I don't think it is. I could have sworn the Origin logo was on the side of the ship, on the lower half, and I do not see that big old Origin logo. It's very subdued now. It's dead center. I couldn't even point it out if I tried. And there's a nice tint to the windows that goes along with this nicely. That was already there. The tint was already there, I think, but it's just an example of those things going together nicely. Just really well done paint. So I would say that even if you're not concierge, the black paint would do nicely on this ship. I think at the very least. I might even still pick up the black paint, because that to me is like the nice thing to go into. I'll be doing another video with all the different market options, and that not just the 400i, but also the Liberator. I wish the BMM, I wish the X1. You know, I wish to see a full sale, but I'll work with what we got, and what we got is a lot of nice stuff. The Liberator and the 400i options that are for sale are serious options, and I would definitely not discount this ship. Would I have liked to see this ship 6 months or a year ago? Yes, yes. But I still think it's in a nice position. I will be hanging on to this ship. I'm a huge fan of the 300i series. To a lesser extent, I'm a fan of the 600i's weapons and shields. You got to remember the 600i has dual size 4 shields, and it has 3 pilot ran size 5 weapons, plus 4 racks of size 3 missiles. So it's got a lot. It's got a lot going for it. Sorry, let's get moving on this adventure. Don't know if this is exactly the most honorable mission, but I needed a mission that was nearby. So, is this obstructed? Or is the calibration just glitched? Okay, now, I thought this was an ace in the hole right here. To get a combat mission that close, that didn't seem like it was that complicated. This is an old trick from the 314 PTU days, was to look away and then go back. And that is clearly not working here. Let's wait for the fully disengage the quantum drive. Let's kick it back up. I think it's obstructed, but I can't be certain. Now, I have not messed with the modules in this ship at all. I literally just I stored it, added paint, put it back in. The vehicle management system is still the same as the previous one. I will mention the UI has a lot of little things. Wait. Am I in Atmo now? Is that the deal? Too close. Okay, never mind. No, I think it might be obstructed. Huh. Okay, so if my eliminated target is over near yellow, well, I might not want to go straight to yellow. I probably want to go to Daymar, somewhere else close, and then kind of bounce off. By the way, the new position for Port Olisar, I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. I think that the new position is great. It was, as Jared pointed out, it was the only location, major planetary landing location, that did not have a supporting station right above. I've said in previous videos, it's going to be a very useful tactic where somebody decides to make their home station Orison. You can tell them, hey, it doesn't matter what ship you have, as long as it has quantum, come up and meet me at the station. You know, that's kind of where I see it as being useful. And also being able to stage there. A lot of times you may not want to go all the way down to the planet, but it's right there, and you'll be able to pick up a shuttle to be able to take you back and forth if you don't want to burn the fuel on a ship that you might have that might not be very fuel focused. I know these little hopper jumps are very short range, but I'm already appreciating this quantum drive is very responsive. The ship is very maneuverable for its size. I don't think it's the fastest ship, but people forget that a lot like with a car, the maneuverability, it was obstructed. So that's why I was behind the planet, the moon of yellow. This fight. But the maneuverability is almost just as important in a lot of cases. Yes, when you don't have speed and you need it, you definitely feel it, but it is something to bear in mind that this is a game that has a lot of other features involved. And I still point to that. I did not refuel the hydrogen, by the way. all this adventure I'm doing, quantum, hydrogen, it's not long distance, yes. I'm sure that quantum would go way down a decent little chunk if I went to New Babbage, um, but over a microtech. But this is not bad. Honestly, this ship is a great all-arounder, other than the fact it has two dual size 3 pilot controlled weapons, and then a bunch of size 2 and 1 missiles on a size 3 shield. I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but the gist is it's not much more firepower than a 300, except the shield should be significantly better. So it should have a lot more survivability if I don't slam into an asteroid. Okay. My little tricks of working the 300 are not going to be as effective as I think. Whew. This thing has a lot of mass. I just felt it when I went to slow down. So do bear that in mind. Learn from my mistake. Doing the overshoot and then burn and then boost to get you back on target is not going to work. You're going to kind of have to finesse this a little bit. It's a big ship.
Achieved missile blast. Shields under attack.
So I hate to have taken a contract like that, but I was kind of in a hustle to get something. This is on the PTU, of course. That was not a player. That was an NPC. This was like a criminal mission to take out a target. That was an Aurora popped by a volley of size 2 missiles, and then the size 3 guns finishing it up. We're only talking about dual size 3s here. That's it. And but those do some damage. And the missile systems on board, let's talk about those for a minute. Now, I have the G key selected where you hit G a couple times to put the full volley into place. And let's see if I can get these to dumbfire. On camera, no less. This is easier said than done. Let's see. Well, I don't know why the missile's fired from behind me, but as you can see, the volley does go. It's not all instantaneous like on the 600i. I don't know why, but it is slightly different. Maybe if I sit still. I only have 2 left, so the volley's going to be a little less impressive, but still nice. Take cruise control off. Notice the speed of the velocity I was getting to when I got up to speed, and also once again that hydrogen level is just so nice. As a reminder, once again, 315 PTU, wave 1. This is like going to be some of the earliest stuff that the public test server has. So some of the glitches you see or some of the looks you see are not exactly perfect. I usually run my settings on high with like medium for the clouds. So if you're used to seeing ultra high or something else, and then remember it has to be recorded. So some of the stuff you may see, it looks a little darker than usual, is probably because of that stuff. So we're basically sitting still now. So let's see if we can get the missiles to animate correctly. There we go. So you can see them on the pylons. They left the pylons. They are beautiful. And I'll also show you. We should be able to switch the missile tech. Hang on, sorry. We've got a whole pack of decoys like usual. And let me see if we can get something going here. There we go. Apologies for that. I'm a little rusty with switching missile types. Okay, so let's see if we can do all four of the this is now the size ones. Oh, I thought it would. They're activated. But they will not dumbfire. I think this might be a type of technology that can't dumbfire. If you look there, that's the symbol for this right here. That's the EM type of lock-on system. Whereas the marksmans just rely on thermal. They're more of a fire and forget. They're looking for engine heat. So these are like the heat off of it, off the modules, off the engine, etc. Whereas the other ones are, I fear they can't dumbfire. The ones that rely on the radar lock, sorry, the well, that's visual. Sorry, that's visual technology, and this is my settings, like what I'm actually emitting right now. And then that's your electrical. Anyway, let's just call it there, I guess. This is a heck of a ship. I think that this has a lot going for it. And if it's the ship where, like, if you know you like the 300 series or those type of Origin style ships, you're going to enjoy and appreciate this ship. I think that it's going to be a ship for a lot of people in a two-person configuration. By the way, I just noticed these windows up here. It's a nice touch. That's quite cool, actually. A little bit of window peeking out. Let's see if the captain's quarters also has that. Captain's quarters has even more of a window. Very nice, right above his desk. And I mentioned this before with the way this is set up. If this indeed has business that can be done that other places can't, like on a Moby Glass, where it's more comfortable to utilize, expect your other crew members to want to use your desk when you're not using it. So just beware of that. It's a shame that this isn't its own sub room, like say its own door, and then it was like a small cubicle. But then I think that would take away from the captain's quarters-esque feel of that independent room. I think also, as I mentioned earlier in this video, this is basically going to spend all of its time down there. Why? Because if you need to race out of here to go put a fire out, you're just going to drop. And then you're going to want to be able to do things. You can't get injured just by dropping that far, and then you can immediately hit this to go back up. And this is a fast elevator, but it's not as fast because of the toggle of to take you down. So I would just leave out at the bottom. You jump down, get in. As I mentioned, as for away teams, you would go over here, grab your suit, grab your weapon, and avoid trying to fall. Don't use these things here. You don't want to fall through the floor, and all your tools, and then you would come over here for your cyclone. I think there's a lot going for this ship. It's a well done ship. I think this is what was needed. I do wish it came out 6 months to a year ago, but it's still got a place in the verse. I do not see it as a Connie competitor per se. It's a little smaller, and without the snub feature, it's kind of in a class of its own. I think the X1 is not a snub. You cannot access the snub from the inside, by the way, if you want to call it a snub. You would need to exit the ship and go outside in order to get to this, and the crew would have to put the landing gear down in order for you to get to the menu to open that X1 open. It's not really meant for space. It can, I think, go into space if you're wearing a full suit, but I think this ship is better suited for outpost work, and bringing a hint of class to like a territorial area. You did see it blow up at Aurora, though, on NPC Aurora, on the test server. It does have quite a lot of armament. Two people, I think, would be a nice size crew for this. Somebody, especially if you have a friend that you occasionally play with, this would be a great ship to break out for those situations. And then maybe consider using it for other things too. I think we'll still need to do some more testing and see its long range capacities, but overall, this is a pretty cool ship, and this is where I'm going to end. If you made it this far, I want to ask if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers so we can have a community tab to have all sorts of resources for new and returning Star Citizen backers who check out these kind of videos. And I want to thank you all for checking this out, and fly safe.